Hey everyone, and welcome. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with us today for this brand new explainer. We're going to unpack a really fascinating piece of source material. It's a short but deeply spiritual set of verses titled Divine Presence in Every Living Soul. And what we're going to do together is walk through the very specific way this text builds a profound philosophical contrast. We'll look at how the author uses some incredibly vivid imagery to bridge the gap between ancient mythological ideals and, well, our modern everyday reality. It's a brilliantly constructed piece of writing that takes us on a very deliberate emotional journey, and I'm just so excited to guide you through it.
Okay, let's dive into this. The central, truly beautiful mystery of the poem's philosophy is this idea. He resides in every living soul. Now, the text doesn't just toss us out as a passing thought, It frames this concept as the absolute ultimate divine teaching. Before the author introduces any sort of conflict or tragedy, they want us to deeply understand this baseline rule of their universe. This single line acts as the foundation for everything we're about to explore. If God is literally present in every single breathing creature, well, how we interact with the natural world takes on a staggering level of importance. This isn't just about being respectful. Actually, scratch that. It's way more than that. According to the text, we're talking about direct interaction with the divine.
Section 1. The Divine Companions, Mythology's Sacred Pairs. Let's get into the awe and reverence of these creatures.
To make this abstract concept a bit more tangible, the text moves into the first half of its emotional arc. Let's look at how the source text firmly establishes these iconic divine pairings. The poem meticulously lists specific deities right alongside their animal companions. We've got Ganesha paired with the mouse, Shiva with Nandi the bull, Bhairava accompanied by the dog. Then there's Kalki riding the Devadatta horse, the mother goddess Durga with her fierce lion, and of course, Krishna with the cow. By laying out this specific roster, the author is reminding us of those foundational stories where animals aren't just pets, right? They're literal vehicles and cherished companions of the divine. The text is actively building a world where the sacred and the natural are completely, undeniably intertwined.
Let's zoom in on the specific verses that actually open up this imagery. The text deliberately highlights Ganesha seated upon his mouse and that profound, deep connection of Shiva with his beloved Nandi. By invoking these very specific, highly recognizable images right off the bat, the poem builds this immediate sense of absolute reverence. The author is basically evoking the grandeur of these deities to elevate the status of the animals associated with them. So, the mouse and the bull are instantly transformed in our minds from ordinary, everyday creatures into sacred beings that share in the glory of the gods they serve. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the poem's mythological foundation. The verses just keep expanding this sacred roster. We read about Bhairava and his magnificent dog, and the futuristic avatar Kalki upon his divine horse Devadatta. The text also brings in the fierce lion belonging to the mother goddess and really emphasizes Krishna's unwavering devotion to the cow. The author is making sure that no matter where you look in the mythology, across all these different deities and energies, whether they're fierce, protective, or loving, the animal kingdom is completely integrated into the divine hierarchy. It paints this picture of perfect, unshakable harmony.
Section 2. God in Every Being, the Central Thesis.
With that magnificent picture painted, the verses pause to explicitly state this totally beautiful, poignant line, God taught us He resides in every soul. This right here is the emotional anchor and the unwavering moral stance of the source text. The author is basically telling us that the mythological pairings we just looked at, they aren't just old stories or metaphors. No, they're active demonstrations of a cosmic rule. The divine didn't just pick a handful of animals to be sacred. The divine is actively teaching humanity that this sacredness extends to every single living being. It's this profound leveling of the playing field, effectively making every creature a temple.
Which leads us to an absolutely critical question. If these animals are divine, how does humanity treat them in reality? The author has spent this entire first half of the poem lifting us up into this beautiful, harmonious, divine ideal, but honestly, it's a setup. This question bridges the gap between the myth and the mirror. So prepare yourself because the text is about to execute a really jarring, dramatic emotional pivot. We are stepping out of the heavens and crashing hard into real-world actions.
Section 3. A Bitter Truth, the Betrayal.
We now enter a very different space in the text. It's a stark, uncompromising contrast. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it frames this. On one side, we have the mythological ideal, the revered mouse of Ganesha, a literal creature of the divine. But then on the flip side, the poem presents the grim reality.
humanity gives poison to the mouse. The text places these two facts side by side to highlight this staggering cognitive dissonance. I mean, how can a culture revere a creature in its mind, yet seamlessly destroy it in its daily life? The author points this out not with anger, but with a deeply factual, really sobering clarity.
The verses maintain this rhythmic, almost poetic pacing as they continue to reveal this tragic hypocrisy. We move from Shiva's beloved Nandi, the ultimate symbol of strength and devotion, straight into the harsh line noting that Nandi is slaughtered. The author forces us, the readers, to reconcile the image of the sacred bull standing in the temple with the reality of the violence inflicted upon it by the very same humanity that claims to worship its master. It's such a powerful structural choice by the poet, making the real-world action feel like a direct assault on the divine.
And the stark comparisons relentlessly continue. The verses describe Bhairava's companion, not as proud and sacred, but sitting there utterly terrified. Kalki's divine horse, Devadatta, meant to carry the ultimate savior, is instead killed by humans. The text is systematically dismantling that beautiful mythological harmony we built up just a few moments ago. By matching each divine animal with its real-world suffering, the author is arguing that humanity isn't just failing to live up to its ideals, it's actively, violently betraying the very scriptures and gods it claims to hold so dear.
Section 4. Towards destruction, the cosmic consequence. Let's see how this all culminates.
The narrative now escalates to its climax, focusing on how the divine reacts. Just let that phrase sink in for a second. Krishna's tears. The verses describe a scene where Krishna, upon seeing the state of the cow, the creature he is just so deeply devoted to, begins weeping bitterly. The author uses this powerful imagery to show that the divine isn't removed or indifferent to earthly cruelty. The hypocrisy of humanity doesn't just break moral laws, according to the text. It causes genuine sorrow to the divine. That perfect harmony has been broken, and the gods themselves are mourning the cruelty of humanity.
So the crucial point is right here in this warning. The verses explicitly state, hurting the mother's lion, you head towards destruction. The author isn't just making a basic moral plea for kindness here. They're actually outlining a cosmic law of cause and effect. The text argues that when you cause pain to these sacred creatures, represented here by Durga's lion, you are fundamentally disrupting the entire order of the universe. This cruelty isn't just sad, it's a self-inflicted wound. The author's ultimate warning is that by destroying the divine presence in these animals, humanity is naturally, inevitably leading itself straight toward its own demise.
Let's pull all of these threads together. By analyzing this text, we can clearly see the core takeaways the author intended. First, there's the foundational belief that the divine literally lives within every creature, making all life sacred. Second, we see the jarring reality that humanity's real-world actions completely contradict the very scriptures and myths they supposedly revere. And finally, that ultimate warning, this hypocritical cruelty doesn't just harm the animal, it paves a direct path to cosmic destruction for humanity itself. The verses just brilliantly connect the dots between ancient reverence, modern reality, and these inevitable consequences.
I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative thought directly inspired by the verses we've explored today. If God truly resides in every living creature, what does our real-world treatment of them actually say about our devotion? This text really challenges us to look past the stories we tell ourselves and examine the reality we're creating. I hope this explainer helped you see the brilliant structure and the profound philosophical weight of this piece. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you next time as we dive into more fascinating material.